So while I was at the gym this morning, I was listening to a podcast, doing my workout, trying to do two things at once, right? And I'm thinking about effectiveness versus productivity because we live in this world, whether you're working in manual labor or whether you're in a leadership role, where it seems we're all expected to create something for output. Our productivity, why did I say that in a funny way the first time, is the thing that's most valued and most measured. Did you reach this goal of creating so much money in donations this year? Did you reach the goal of delivering this new program to your clients? Did you reach this goal of completing a new app launch or whatever it is your work is? I believe that your efforts should not lead to burnout, should not lead to overwhelm. Now, that can be easier said than done because we are indoctrinated by an economy that is focused on capitalism, that is still rooted in the precepts of the Industrial Revolution, meaning we're trying to find these efficiencies for production. Think of a manufacturing plant that creates cars. All these different machines that are automated, and there are people around that are having to do certain things by hand, but the machines themselves can most likely work 24 hours a day, so long as they have electricity to power them. Probably require a little bit of maintenance here and there, like anything does, because everything breaks down. But we are not machines. In the Industrial Revolution, things were trying to be developed in such a way that more widgets, more items, more products, productivity, could be created in a faster and more efficient way, which meant more income and more profit for the person that owned the company. And people on the factory floor became part of the product. They became part of the machinery. This is a problem when it influences even intellectual work and how we approach, how we show up in our day as a leader, as a manager, as a supervisor, as an entrepreneur, as a creative, thinking, well, I only have 24 hours in my day. I'm going to sleep for 8. I've got my 8 to 12 hours in which I'm going to do my work Monday to Friday. And I've got the time that I've got to walk back and forth to work or drive back and forth to work. I've got to make dinner. I've got to spend time with my spouse, my kids, my dog, whatever. To say we all have the same amount of time in the day is nonsense in one way. Yes, we all have 24 hours in a day, but we're all different. We're all unique human beings that have different energy patterns and cycles. How we approach the meaning that gives us the enthusiasm and the energy and the emotional state for the work we approach. And we're also living in a very complex, busy, challenging world at the moment with things that are happening politically, with what's happening with the climate, with outside my window, a new building is going up. They're digging the foundation. So I have Monday to Friday from about 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. noise. I have the window closed. What are the distractions? What are the things that make your productivity difficult? Well, I want to ditch the word productivity and leave productivity to industry in the sense of how we use that as a way of measure. When it comes to us human beings, we want to be effective. I got some clarification about this some time ago from my coach. when I was focusing on efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. Well, efficiency is a measure of productivity. Efficiency goes back to the factory room floor working on cars. How efficient are the people that manage the machines? How efficient are the machines in doing things correctly, more quickly? And what are efficiencies to cut cost? What are efficiencies to reduce the amount of time it takes to do things? Instead, effectiveness. Effectiveness is a much broader, more humane term. So let me just look at a couple of notes that I've written down to prepare for this. Your efforts should not lead to burnout or overwhelm or frustration. Not to say that those individual things will never happen or that it's not okay for those experiences, overwhelm, burnout, to happen once in a while. We just want to make sure, as human beings, as leaders who want to make a difference in the world, that that is not our way of showing up to work every single day. Your pursuit, my pursuit of efficiencies should be about making choices that really cultivate the best use of the time you have designed, you have made available to yourself in the day. And that includes how you utilize your creative energy so that you feel the most engaged with the work that you're doing, so that you have the greatest ability to really get in and focus on the work and hopefully love the work that you're doing, but also the environments in which you find yourself. Some environments you have very little choice over. If you have to go into an office, you may hate the office. Maybe you hate the color of the walls. Maybe you don't like the people you work with. How can you adjust that environment? That's an efficiency, a human efficiency, so that it will better support your work or your output, your thinking. All of this wants to lead towards a core emotional state, which is enthusiasm. When you feel enthusiastic about what you're doing, you're not being forced. You're not under pressure from external forces to succeed. Because even though, sure, we could argue you could be enthusiastic if somebody else was pressuring you to do something. But I don't know how long your enthusiasm would be sustainable if you were always working under that external pressure. Perhaps a good comparison would be maybe you gave yourself a deadline to do something and you gamified it a little bit so that you can find the fun within it, the playfulness within it, the curiosity within it. I hope you see where I'm going with this. We're trying to find the very human. How do I feel good? How do I feel well? How do I feel excited, engaged, enthusiastic being the key word? Because when all of these things work together, then you create, you support effectiveness at being able to put the time, the energy, and the effort into what you want to accomplish instead of measuring yourself against this inhumane evaluation of, was I productive? Did I output? Did I do so many widgets in my day that was expected of me or that I expected of myself? We are not machines. We do not produce items like that in a factory, like I said. We need to stop. We need to refresh. We need to recover. We need to re-energize. We need to reconnect with who we are. And who we are is both what's most important to us and what connects us with others. What makes us want to do what it is we feel most engaged doing. And I believe when you start feeling more in the way that I'm describing, your efforts are going to feel less stressed, which is not to say that there won't be stressful moments. If you can see when things are getting out of control, you can ask yourself, am I leading with, am I working from a place of enthusiasm, or am I working from a place of trying to produce? As soon as you move into trying to be productive, I've got to create product. That is something outside of yourself versus, am I enthusiastic about what I am doing? Enthusiasm and being effective puts you in the moment, the doing, the being and the doing combined. Because when you get to that output, that final product, whatever goals or outcomes you are agreed to do in your workplace or that you established for yourself if you're an entrepreneur or self-employed, that final product, that thing you've created, be it a book, be it a program, be it that you've raised so much money for an organization, that you've hit an income goal, once it's accomplished, it's done. It is now past tense. And you'll be looking for the next product, the next goal. So when we pull ourselves back into how we can be effective, effectiveness becomes a kind of self-care, a kind of way that we approach our emotions, our energy, our environments, and our enthusiasm so that we can show up engaged and excited even when times are challenging. If this has resonated with you, there's two things I want to ask of you or suggest or invite you to do. One, comment. What did you take from this video today? What was really meaningful and made you stop and think, I've been missing this element, or I would like to practice this way of thinking in the way I've approached productivity as sort of the be all and the end all, if that's where you found yourself. Secondly, I invite you to connect with me. Send me a private message if you want to have a conversation about how you can move from focusing solely on production, if that's burning you out and making you feel overwhelmed, and instead how to be effective and have more enthusiasm in your role as a leader.